getting that. They was with my cousin Jim Trevelyan. Remember Jim Trevelyan?
I didn't know Jim was your cousin. I knew Jim was over there. Him and Mr. Garrett and all. I didn't know that was your cousin.
Right. And we're from Bessie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim used to live down the street from us on San Jacinto.
Right. Absolutely. Hey guys, we are on the air right now, and welcome to. You almost called us backstage doing our chat and just chat talking. We are on live. We're live right now. Welcome to my Tuesday evening Knowledge with Power podcast live. And I've got with me today our special guest. I have our Beaumont owned Black African American funeral home owners and directors with me tonight. And this podcast is going to be basically in about 3 to 4 parts, because we're going to talk around knowledge and get knowledge out to you on what to do to prepare your loved ones. Prepare your loved ones for death. When death occurs, are you prepared? Are you prepared mentally? Are you prepared? Benefits? Are you prepared? We're just going to give you some knowledge on tonight. And this is one thing about this show. You're going to get the truth. And the people I bring on as guests are people that you know, that you can trust to take care of your business. And tonight I have Lashone Proctor Montuary, Greg Cantue. He's a little late getting on. He's having a little trouble coming online, but I'm going to be waiting on Greg Cantue of Mercy Funeral Homes, and Freddie Get Ready Broussard from Calvary Montuary, and Andre Como of Community Funeral Home here in Beaumont. Yes, and I'll be waiting on Freddie Broussard from Calvary and Greg Cantue from Mercy Funeral to come on later. They're having some difficulty, but we're going to start the show on time, and we're going to get started with my guests to my right and to your left. Guys, hello. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great. Man, it's good to have you guys.
Good evening. How are you doing?
We chatted for the last 15 minutes. And hey, Terry, how you doing, man? Terry Roy has joined us already. We kind of chatted a little bit in backstage about 15, 20 minutes, man. I've had to tell those guys and say, hold up. That's part of the show. You got to wait till this show starts. You can wait till showtime start for you. You tell it all the good right now. We can't repeat it like that. So anyway, we were talking about backstage about burying our loved one. Are we prepared to bury our loved ones? Hello, Free Your Mind and your soul. Glad to have you. And we like to just talk about, in general, the business side of death. When I say the business side of death, are you prepared? Not prepared for the soul. We're talking about prepared. How can I say this, guys? I want to know if they're prepared for.
Hey, the financial side of death.
Yeah, right. And folks say, so why did you have a funeral home directors on? Well, that's part of the program. Knowledge is power. If you don't have the knowledge, you won't have power. You won't know what to do if you don't have the knowledge.
Exactly.
Business part of death and what to do. The financial part. We talk about. I always discuss with you in my audience for the past month and a half is that we talk about money management, financial, health, and education. So we're educating. This is an educated program. This is for people who need educated on death. Death can happen to in 10 minutes. Matter of fact, when this shows, though, somebody's gonna lay down. So what I am saying is someone, you're going to go through this, and I want to prepare you for this event. Andre.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Como from Community Funeral Home here in Beaumont. I'll let you lead the program out and talk about what can we expect so that the audience know how to prepare when there's death to our loved ones?
Well, and I think everybody knows you initially contact the funeral home, and we get information from you, set up an appointment for you to come in and see what type of arrangements you want to have. And that's where the real business side kicks in. A lot of people come in, they have pre-needs where the loved one has taken the family into consideration and made decisions and choices about what they want and even paid for this, taking the burden off of family. A lot of people have not chosen to do pre-needs. They have life insurance. Some people don't have life insurance, just have money in the bank, but they've made preparations for it. Then you have that last small group of people who've lived the carefree attitude, kicked the can down the road and said, I'll let my family take care of it. I really consider that a selfish attitude. The people that you love the most, whether it be your sister, your brother, your children, your parents, you left them in a position to take over your expenses or take over your responsibility and the expenses of a funeral.
Well, Mr. Proctor, what do you say on there?
Well, I mean, it's like Andre said. I mean, I think there's a process. Some people are proactive, some people are reactive in a sense when we look at it. I think one thing about funeral business has always been that thing where people just don't want to come to the funeral home. So in that sense, people fail to plan for death. My thing is that we all know that we're going to die. It's one of those things, we go to church every Sunday. Preacher preaches death and dying every Sunday. So we know that that's going to happen. But I just think it's always that myth of first people saying, if I plan my funeral, that means that I'm going to die. No, that just means that you prepared. I say all the time, people get insurance on a cell phone, but they won't get insurance on themselves. So I think it's one of those things. Once we get past that just fear of going to the funeral home, that fear of just doing it. And I'll use myself for an example. Growing up, I was afraid of the funeral home. I remember going to my grandmother's house in Louisiana who had to pass by the cemetery. I always ducked down in the back of the seat because I didn't want to pass by the cemetery. When I got old enough to drive, I drive all the way around, all the way out of the way. So I didn't have to go by the cemetery. Even though my dad worked at a funeral home, I just did not want to, that wasn't my thing.
Right.
And people still feel that today, that way they just don't want to go to the funeral home unless there's a funeral or something happening just to go in and plan. You would have, and I'm sure Andre has had it, somebody will pass away sitting at the conference table, somebody say, I need to get this done right now. And I often tell people, like anything else, if you don't do it next week or within the week, it's done. You ain't going to do it. You'll be in the same situation again, saying that I need to get it done or I should have gotten it done. And I just think that it's just one of those things where we have to reprogram ourselves to plan. One thing that I think people don't understand is, even when Andre said we have insurance and those things, but a lot of times people don't understand that there's a 2-year contestability clause in insurance policies. You know what I'm saying? Just because your agent say you take it out today, you covered. That's not true. If you die in an accident and you have accidental and you have those things, then yeah, that's the case. But if you just have something that you take it out because someone's ill and they pass away, there's a 2-year contestability clause in that. And that insurance more than likely is not going to pay you. They're going to refund you the premiums that have been paid into it, plus sometimes they give you a percentage of that as well. But it's just some things where we just have to get away from being afraid to plan our services, being afraid to prepare our loved ones and all of those people for that day, and just step forward and get it done.
Well, we was talking backstage, and I was saying here, and we was talking backstage, and I said, I was telling my dad had passed away 7-8 months ago, and he would always tell me, he said, son, and I always ask him, I said, well, where's your things, man? I need to know. Where is, and when they get older, they get to the point where everything's a secret. Mm-hmm. And like it's none of my business, So I'm always asking, where is your policy? Tell me, where did you leave things so I know? And he'll say, oh, it's up in the closet. It's in the closet. Don't worry about it. It's up in the right hand side of the closet. So it's not for me to go and look in that closet, because if I went and looked in that closet, what were you doing in my closet? You know, it's a secret. They don't want, they're protecting it. I don't understand why they do that.
They think you're taking some of their independence away from them.
Uh-huh. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't think I'm the only one that had to go through this.
No,
a lot of people will have to go through this, and a lot of kids that has parents, a lot of us that has parents are afraid to even ask them, where are their policies, or where do they have a policy to bury them, or do you have insurance? Do you have the right insurance?
you know what it is, right?
Tell me.
First thing they said, oh, you rushing me. You're looking at what you're going to get, what you're going to hear. Don't worry about it. I have everything taken care of.
That's right. But let me tell you what. So when he did pass away, I knew he had his stuff together. Well, I looked in the closet, and there was nothing in the closet.
Clothes.
So it took me almost 2 weeks to find where he hid those policies. He had a ton of policies. He had a ton of business. But then again, I found out, boy, I'm rich, but I couldn't touch it. Why? Because we had a will. He had a will. And we don't know. This is one thing we need to talk about to our people. We need a will.
Mm-hmm.
And we need a living will as well. Because you said earlier, Andre, is that's why the property value in our neighborhoods and the Black communities are gone down, because the homes were tied up. We didn't have a will left. We didn't take care of business the way we need to take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it. I think one thing that you were saying earlier in regards to like the elderly people, I think is a flip side to that as well, because when you get to the age to where parents are middle age and they are thinking about those things, and then the children become of age, the children don't want to talk about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When the mother, just say if you got someone in their 60s and they're trying to get their stuff prepared and they wanted to discuss that with their children, sometimes the children aren't acceptive to that. You know, the children don't want to talk about it. So it's one of those things of programming. And I think the thing is, how do we reprogram, you know, in order to just get us to understand that we have to be prepared? Because even when you talk about property and those type of things, if you don't have a will, such as you, where the problem comes in, if you have 3 or 4 siblings and they're not on the same page.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And if they're not on the same page, that's why that property get tied up, because somebody got to pay the taxes on that property until everything get done. Now, if you can't get your money back, then people get mad because I paid the taxes. I can't get my money back. You ain't gonna get my money back. Now, no one pays the taxes, and everybody get mad, and the property sits. You know, and that's why the properties goes down, and that's why those things happen, because we don't have wills, and we don't have a lot of times. Again, and it just is what it is. Our family makeup isn't a lot of times on page or where it needs to be in order to basically get things. Because even with a will, you break things down, and who gets the house, who get the car, who get the furniture, who gets the, you know, the trinkets or the dishes, you know, who all of those things. And I just think that that's something that wills aren't hard to do nowadays online. You know, you go in, you can print them, you can get them notarized, you can get those things, you can get it filed. You know, it's just that those are the things that sometimes people don't want to take the time to do for whatever reason.
Stop right there. I want you to say that again, because I want you to say that one more time, slowly, so the audience can understand what you're saying and what they need to do. This is a must, people. Black people, this is a must. Go ahead, Sean.
Doing wills aren't hard to do. With today's time, being able to go online and print them and get them, fill them out, have them done, have them notarized, and have them filed. Those are the things that you need to do with wills, and wills will safeguard us from having a lot of issues, having a lot of family breakups, mix-ups, disturbances, and just break up. One thing, you know, it's an old cliche. It's an old cliche where they used to say death bring families together. That's the biggest lie that anybody has ever
Absolutely.
said and that has ever done. Death would tear a family apart.
That's right.
You know,
Over
when-
$1.
yeah. When mama dies, not so, you know what the bad part about it is, not so much when daddy died, but when mama died, everybody got a problem. It comes out to where the siblings are feuding for whatever reason because of whatever stuff. I just think that those are things that people have to look by wheels because of small things. You know what I'm saying? Because of not even big things like houses and things, but small things, little trinkets, mama's wedding band that she's had for 50 years that somebody won't, but somebody else think that they should get. You know, those things have to be put into those and specified into those wheels to where we know where those things go. And people just don't have those problems. But we as a people have to get reprogrammed. We're just not programmed. And I don't know why. I don't know how to fix it.
That not programmed. Economics does come into play here. Everybody don't have either the knowledge, okay, to go online, or either the monies to pay $300 or $400 to get a will done. Now that's to get a will done up front. We're not talking about probate. If you're talking about a person that's on SSI or Social Security, $800,000-$900,000 a month, it's probably not in their budget to pay to have a will done. And then a lot of people are caught in the bind of not wanting to alienate one child while they're living over naming another child because that child is more responsible or beneficiary. You know, I don't want to name X when I got Y and Z sitting over here, even though X is the more responsible. And I know Mr. Proctor run into that problem also. You know, there's just not a person responsible out there.
But you know what, too, Andre, and like you said, we deal with this, and I think for everyone else has to understand, like you said, you always have that person that's responsible. But a lot of times, even when naming beneficiaries, you know, if that breakup and that breakdown comes when that person dies, then always that person that's that executive or that beneficiary do the right thing. Because in that sense, I say that because they're over everything. You know, I mean, if you got a beneficiary on a policy, and we all know this, that person don't have to use the policy for funeral proceeds. They should use it to bury them, but they're the beneficiary on that policy.
There's
no legal obligation, sometimes where people are the beneficiary. Well, right. But legally they don't. But morally, when people get mad, sometimes morals is the first thing to go out the window.
And I'll tell you another mistake a lot of people make. When I had a named beneficiary on my policy, this happens a lot with husband and wife, and the husband passed, the wife is still living. She fails to go change the beneficiary on the policy. So when she passes, the primary beneficiary is deceased. And depending on the company and the way that they've written their rules and regulations as far as issuing out that policy, if there's not a contingent beneficiary on there, sometimes that causes a problem. It's not just as simple as getting a death certificate on the primary beneficiary. Some companies will allow this. Some companies just want to hold up the policy until a formal probate is established.
Right.
Well, if you pay an attorney's fee
and make you probate it.
Right. And if you pay an attorney's fees, $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, a lot of times we're only talking about $1,000 or $1,500, $2,000 policy.
That's another thing. One other thing I was going to mention is that sometimes our parents has purchased the wrong type of policies. And sure,
I think
repeat that, Sean. I think you broke up a little bit there.
Well, I think, like you say, report, but I think with those older policies that they had back in the day, we can only get $500 policies. And I think a lot of times, people still holding on. And again, they're not very high, but I think sometimes too with that, people are underinsured. you know, because those policies are so old, you know, and some of them are still, like Andre was saying when he's saying about the $1,500 policies. I still see a lot of those $1,000 policies, you know, $500, $1,500 policies, you know, that some of those older people still have, and they've been having them for years, you know. And that's where when you come in and you say that, you know, they're not properly insured.
Mm-hmm. You know, and again, I guess my dad left by the time I collected all his information. The thing that saved me from having to spend a lot of money is that he had a pre-need that was done 40 years ago.
Mm.
You know, he never, you know, a pre-need done. I didn't have to do anything, but it only cost me a couple of $100 to bury him. Okay, to complete the funeral. But a lot of us don't have pre-need. I think the pre-need is a pre-need to leave your loved ones without the stress and burden after death.
Right. And you know, another thing, and during this pandemic that we're going through, too many people rely solely on their life insurance on their job. Okay. If you are laid off, fired, terminated, separated, and you don't have anything, and then don't become uninsurable in the process. You can't even go out and get insurance if you become ill during the process. You know, a lot of people argue the point, oh, I have it on my job, on my job. You're not married to a job. You're just a number at a job in today's world.
Uh-huh. Now,
true statement. Very true statement.
Very, very, I mean, awesome.
Yeah. I say that all the time to people, because that's the first thing when you telling people about pre-need. They say, oh, I got insurance on my job. And like Andre just said, my first question is, what if you lose your job? What happens? And pre-needs, and people don't understand this. My own personal opinion, insurance policies aren't to bury people. Insurance policies is to subsidize the income that's lost when your family member passes away or that breadwinner passes away. Because what most people don't understand is, if somebody passes away, then my thing is, most people are about 45 days from being evicted, having a car repossessed, you know what I'm saying, or having to find them somewhere else to live or somewhere to go. Simply because you done lost, if you are two-family income, someone passed away, you done lost half of that income. Mm-hmm. It's not like workers' comp where you're going to keep getting a check. Whatever check is in the pipeline, that's the last check. There are no more checks. So pre-needs are good because pre-needs is going to bury you. Insurance policies is good because you can take that insurance policy, break it up, and say, this is how much he was putting or she was putting into the household, and break it up and see how many months you have before you to restructure your life. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't look at when they're saying insurance. I have insurance. You know, how are you going to restructure your life? And if you take a lot of that policy or all of that policy to bury you, now you have no restructure time. You're pretty much done. 30 to 45 days later.
Wow, guys, this is some great information that we're receiving here this evening, and I want to let everybody know to chime in. If you want to chime in, write your comments in the comment box and let us know. We're here to help you. We're here to give you some very important, informative information, the real deal, the real truth. You know, the newspaper's not giving us this kind of news. The television, the local television station are not giving us this kind of news. But we're giving you the truth. You've got the truth coming here, and I'm gonna let you know, knowledge is power. Podcast Live is on every Sunday and Tuesday evening, and I want you to know that I'm here to give you the best knowledge that you can get and learn, and we're going to educate you, because I don't know everything, but I do a lot of reading, a lot of research, and a lot of studying. This is why I bring on people, experts, local experts that knows about the things that we should know, and we're sharing it to you to prepare you for the future. Prepare you for tomorrow, because you never know when someone is going to leave us. You know, we never know when our loved one is going to leave us, and we want to prepare you, because I know sometimes I'm a salesperson. I'm a counselor. I'm just everything. And I'm pretty much sure you guys got to go through that as well.
I think me and Mr. Proctor were talking about that before the show. You know how we have to turn our head around and have different positions depending on who we're dealing with. Um, Sometimes people come to you and you feel like you're a doctor, sometimes a minister, sometimes an attorney. But on another note, I noticed Mr. Shannon Holmes out of Houston left a comment that there are free resources in the community for doing estate. There's a note that Mr. Shannon Holmes left at the bottom there.
Okay, I'm gonna put that back up here.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. What are those free resources? You're all aware of them?
I'm not in detail. I think if somehow you could get Mr. Holmes, I know Mr. Holmes is an attorney in Houston, and maybe that's something he could bring us expert knowledge on. I mean, I know a lot of attorneys from time to time would do pro bono work, and there's legal aid downtown, but to what extent and estate planning, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Proctor knows.
Well, I'm gonna have to bring old Shannon back, or bring Shannon on and give us more details about planning the wills and estate planning. Because this is why we lose our properties. We lose a lot in our community because we do not plan afterwards. We don't plan ahead,
Right. And there's some things like that. Most of that stuff was done through private, like NAACP or other organizations that would come in and try to help and put those things along. But I'm like, Andre, I don't know if you can go downtown, to anyone and they actually help you with that, unless it's going to be something done through somewhere like Lamar. If I know they have different programs sometimes, don't they, to where they kind of help different things. But how often do they have those programs?
I have Joshua West here, and she also said the same thing. And I guess she was meaning to ask us that question, and we've already answered maybe. But a pre-need is the best way to go, and writing the will out. And I can tell you, a pre-need, and I experienced it. A pre-need is really the best way to go, because my dad 40 years ago paid $4,000 for that funeral, fully loaded. But today, that was top of the line. But today, 40 years later, tell the audience how much the average funeral costs.
Well, I think one thing that people don't understand about pre-needs, and what's so good about pre-needs, is pre-needs gonna lock the cost in.
Right.
It's gonna lock the funeral cost in. So like you're saying with your dad, a lot of times families can't appreciate how it is until they sit at the table and see that pre-need that mother or father took out 15 or 20 years ago. When a lot of times you got to get the casket, and the casket is more than what the pre-need was. But a lot of times people don't understand how pre-needs work, where the insurance company is going to take your money, they're going to put it into an account, they're going to draw interest off of it, they're going to do those things. So funeral homes don't lose on those type of things because it's interest built in, and they give that interest to the funeral homes, a portion of it anyway, in census. But I think that a lot of times people don't understand that important is locking that cost in. You know what I'm saying? Locking that cost in to that pre-need is going to help you tremendously down the road, down the line. And those are just things where you have to understand the value in it. But outside of that, it's the best thing.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, because, like you said, today the casket costs $4,000 or more, or more. So that his pre-need was locked in 30, 40 years ago, and it was just so now, so that made me think. I said, wait a minute, I'm too smart not to have a pre-need. So
Mr. Renfro, I see Shannon is saying contact Jefferson County Bar Association.
Yeah,
I think, I don't know. Well, we in Jefferson County, so understand where we are. We in Jefferson County, so and who we trying to help.
I was trying to stay away from that. A lot of these larger law firms here, they'll come into our community to get work from us. But when it comes back to giving back and putting on seminars or doing the pro bono work, I don't necessarily see that.
It ain't happening.
Hey, let's go out to this community and let's do 100 wheels for these people, or let's go to this community and let's do 100 wheels, but they'll come into the community to get 100 lawsuits.
Right.
Or your vote.
Yes. And I said,
maybe we need to have a wheel thing during voting season when they want to come get some votes. If you want to get some votes, then you got to do these wheels. It's going to be a give and take.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I agree because we don't see them until when it's time to vote for them.
It's election time.
Election time. But we don't. But boy, don't get me started. Thank you. Yes, say that again. Yes.
But don't let somebody in your family get killed or at one of these plants or by an 18-wheeler, and then they'll show up in the community wanting to represent the people.
Right. But this is why we have to do business with our people, and that's another show down the road coming. I want to talk to some of the.
Well, I just think it's about accountability.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's the most part of it. It's about accountability, and even in that sense, it's just one of the things. I just think that when those type of resources and things that we have, they are there, but it's hard getting it to our community. And we have to use the resources that we have, and I think that it's putting it together, but I don't think that we can depend on, and it just is what it is. I don't think that we can depend on the county in a sense to come in and do wheels or put that on. I wish we could, you know what I'm saying? Maybe this is a platform to ask for it and say, hey, will you do that for people in communities where, like Andre's saying, can't afford to pay the $300 or can't afford to pay the filing fee. If you want to help with someone to be able to get some things, then you do it. But you have to look at the county is going to benefit if the property is tied up. The county is going.
I think Shannon was talking about the Bar Association, which is a legal group of lawyers coming together, but I don't know of any seminars, anything that they put on to provide that service to our community.
I'm gonna check. You know what? I'm gonna put that on my to-do list, and I'm gonna check around. I'm gonna ask some people, some attorneys that we all know attorneys, but ask some on both sides of the line. How does that work, and who's going to provide that?
Or if they would even be willing to do it.
Yeah.
Would you commit to doing, 20 wheels per church, 20 wheels per funeral home?
Yeah. I agree. And we need to. I'm putting that down now because we need to explore that because we're about tired of being used, and we giving these knowledge to the people that are here with me and here with us tonight. They're just like me on some of the things that you guys are saying. Is that, man, I didn't know that. So if we, the ones that's watching, didn't know it, just imagine who else doesn't know these things. Okay, but again, death is going to come. I've got a question from here, and I'm going to come out here and add it to the show here. And it's from Shonda Harper out of Dallas, Texas. Let's see here. It's my understanding that the best way to go as far as property and vehicle is doing a right of survivorship. That passed by us in a probate. What do you think, guys?
I'm not sure about the vehicle, but I think on property you could do a ladybird deed. I think that's the correct terminology for it. And the ladybird deed transfers the property at the time of death to that person. But I really think that's a question you need to ask an attorney.
Yeah, I think that's more of an attorney question there. And Shannon Holmes would chime in on that one for me. Shannon, email me your email and I can add you in here. So let's go to Kamika Savara here. She's asking, she's saying, but if the person died before they finish paying for the pre-need, they only get what they put in. No, you get the full value. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I know
Well,
that.
no,
Depends on what pre-need.
It depends on the type of pre-need you have. You have annuity or dollar for dollar pre-needs where you get what you paid into it. And then you have insured pre-needs. Insured pre-needs can pay the full value definitely after 2 years. I think Mr. Proctor alluded to the fact earlier, if it's within 2 years, they can still be contestable and they pay you then what you paid in plus the interest that they're going to pay on that. For the most part, though, it can, especially if you live the 2 year out and you've gotten an insured pre-need.
But one thing about that people need to understand about insured pre-needs, it's a lot of interest paid into that as well. You know, so that's a difference when you're looking at your pre-needs. Insured vice dollar for dollar type plan, and those things. So insured pre-needs, when you look at the bottom line, just hypothetical using number. I mean, it's hypothetical numbers. So there's no calculate. This is just going to be a hypothetical, give you an idea. In an insured pre-need, you may end up paying $5,000 more than what the actual pre-need value is. They're not going to give you that money, but again, it's insured, so it's a lot of interest built into it, you know. And the dollar for dollar pre-need is what you pay into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you have a dollar for dollar type pre-need, meaning that you take a $5,000 pre-need out and it's dollar for dollar, if you pay $3,000 in, when the person passes away, you're responsible for the $2,000 if it's not paid out. But if you take a 3-year term or 5-year term or whatever, and you pay it out, then there's nothing to be paid because it's paid. You don't pay any more into it, you know, or whatever. But that's just the difference when you're looking at your different pre-needs. You just have to understand what you're getting, you know what I'm saying? Because it's going to tell you what you're going to pay into it when you get all of the calculations done, when you sit down, whether it's an annuity, insured pre-need, those calculations gonna be done. And it's going to show you on that pre-need what you're going to pay into it when it's all said and done. And the person just has to look at that, you know. So I just think with pre-needs is just what you're trying to get out of it and what do you want. And I think once people look at the numbers with insured pre-needs and just the terms on how long you want to take it out, if it's something that you can pay off early or soon, then you don't really need an insured pre-need because again, you won't pay the interest. It's just a matter of everybody's different. Everybody's different for what they need. And that's where the funeral home, myself, Andre, Greg, Mr. Broussard will come in, whoever that pre-need agent is that's sitting down with you, like your life insurance, you got to tell them what it is that you're trying to accomplish for them to really be able to help you get to where what's going to probably be best for you. And then you take those options and see what's going to work for you.
But again, guys, it does. Here's my question. It does lock that value of it
in.
As long as you're actively paying on it, you can't come in and make a year's worth of payments and then not pay on it, and then come back 2 or 3 years later when mom passed and say, "Look, I want you to honor the pre-need."
Yeah, no.
A pre-need is best described as like a triangular contract. It's a contract between you and the insurance company, me and the insurance company, me and you. You agree to pay the insurance company. The insurance company will pay me at the time of death. I agree to furnish the goods and services to you.
Okay. Kamika has saying it's like, for an example, is it true that if it's a $10,000 pre-need and the person only pays $2,000 and die, then the family only have to pay $2,000 to use towards the funeral service where there is life insurance now covered?
Okay, yes and no. That goes to what Mr. Proctor was saying earlier. If you elected a dollar for dollar pre-need, which is an annuity, and you paid the $2,000 in, then yes, the family would be responsible for the balance of the $8,000. Okay, you could pay it, you know, insurance, credit cards, check, however you're going to pay it. The other side of it, and what Mr. Proctor said was exactly correct. You could have chosen a insured pre-need. Okay, you're going to pay more depending on your age, and the pre-need will pay itself off, especially if you've been in more than 2 years. You know, everyone's not able to come up with that difference between that and the 10,000. Some people are. Some people just want to do it just to lock in the cost and say, "Look, I have another means of paying the balance."
Okay, great,
And,
guys.
and like Mr. Proctor said, it's about educating people. It's about sitting down, listening to the needs of people, and trying to respond to that.
Yes, and let me tell you something. If you don't know by now, I know. Death changes people. It changed your family, your love, the people you've been knowing all your family member you've been knowing all your life. It changes them. They change when that person closes their eyes. It breaks up the family. It just tears up. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I don't. And again, slightly I had to go through it, but what saved me from having to be harassed or any from my siblings or anything like that is that the will.
Mm-hmm.
The will saved me from everything. So I was able to, and fairly, I was able to divide everything up and lay it there. I gave them copies of it after it was probated, and you couldn't touch anything until it was probated. I had an old elderly lady call me the other day, and she lost her husband, and she was sitting at home because the credit union wouldn't change her checking account because she wanted to keep the same checking account at the credit union, but she could not because the death of her husband, it was in his name. And she was sitting there waiting to make those changes. And she asked me why I can't get anything done. I said, well, first of all, did you leave a will? He said, yeah, I have a will. They tell me I need more than that. I said, yes, you do. First of all, you need to take that will, get you a probate attorney, and have that will probated. Did I tell her right?
Yeah.
I think that's the question for Mr. Holmes. But Mr. Proctor said something earlier. A lot of things differ from county to county because I know Harris County, they do a lot of things for small estates. For like when you have estates of less than $50,000, which a lot of us fall into, there's a simple document you could go up to Harris County and get, and I think you can self-file a small estate affidavit and get that probated. And I don't think Jefferson County do that. I've had one or two situations where I've inquired about the county and going to the county judge to do it, and they said that that's not something that they did here.
Andrea, I'm trying to bring in Shannon Holmes right now, attorney, that can answer some of the questions that we kind of ad lib a little bit while I bring him in on the program. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the wills and the probate is something that Mr. Holmes would have to be able to answer, but a lot of things can be done. I think Mr. Proctor used the term earlier. If you're proactive versus reactive and you do it ahead of time, it's a lot easier and a lot less expensive than waiting until the situation arises and you have to have it. A friend of mine once told me that people pay for what they want, but they beg for what they need. So go ahead, Mr. Proctor.
No, I was just laughing. Because that's a true statement, and so yeah, it's a very true statement.
Yeah.
Now, I'm talking behind the scene right now. So when we're preparing for the burial now today and doing this coronavirus, we're not actually doing the traditional funerals right now, right? And it's taking a toll on people now because they're not laying the way they're the traditional way. Has it put a lot of stress on you in by having to do that?
No, I think I know at least on my end, and we met when in the early stages of this, me, Mr. Proctor, Mr. Broussard, and Mr. Cantue, to see how we were going to adjust to the changes. And I mean, because we deal with so many different families from different aspects of the community, I think we're good at adjusting on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Y'all done well. I mean, I've buried 2 family members since the coronavirus pandemic, and it's different. Let's say that and families are, want to be put away the right way. It's just not what they expected, and so we're not going to get back to normalcy in a while. So we're going to have to adjust as much as we can going forward. Let's see if I've got another question here while we're waiting on Shannon Holmes to come on. Let's see here. Let's go back here again. Oh, wait a minute. I tell you what. Let's go here. What has the dramatic increase in funeral costs besides the goods needed? That's from Terry Roy.
I think we're like any other industry. I mean, cost of goods go up, cost of services go up, employee costs go up. I think we haven't risen any higher than any other industry out there. I think we've risen with inflation.
Yeah, well, people.
I think in a sense when you look at, and of course, I don't see a lot of increase. I think when you look at that, of course, when you look at cemeteries, and let's just use this, most people understand. I mean, they go up every year. I don't think we as funeral homes increase our prices as much as the casket companies and cemeteries and all of those persons. But there is a cost of everything that just, I think that's just the way that the world operates. But I think when they look across the board, I think if you actually look across the board, I think the prices, as far as all of us, our funeral homes, myself, Andre, Mr. Broussard, and Mr. Cantue, I think that all of our prices, you haven't seen a lot of increase over the years, but I think it's just that's just business for the most part.
Here, let's look at this one here. I'm sorry. If a policy is paid out, but the individual doesn't pass until 10 to 15 years down the line, does the policy cover the total costs as determined at the time of death?
What happens, and I think Mr. Proctor alluded to this earlier, it's if you keep your end of the bargain with the or terms of the contract with the insurance company and pay on the policy and pay it out, the policy becomes inflation proof to the family. What happens, none of that money is kept in the funeral home. It goes to a third-party trust company approved by the state of Texas to manage those funds. Those companies are regulated by the Texas Department of Insurance, Texas Department of Banking, and they are audited to ensure that your funds are always there and the growth of those funds. They grow that money at a sometimes predetermined rate with minimum growth to pay out a future amount to the funeral home for the services delivered, at a future date and time. I mean, most times they grow it normally at a minimum of inflation, sometimes inflation plus 0.5%.
Let me say this. I'm going to add this in here, and I want the audience to understand what I'm going to go straight at you. Make sure you talk to your parents, your loved ones that's still here, that's still living. Find out if they have a policy. Do they have a burial policy? Do they have enough insurance to bury them? Don't be blindsided when death comes around, because it's going to come. And I want you to make sure that you have that information ready for you. And also take care of yourself and make sure that you don't leave your loved one in a bind. And I'm sure Mr. Proctor and Mr. Cumbo runs into that situation all the time. And don't send me no GoFundMe. I'm telling you right now, don't send me no GoFundMe, because I'm telling you right now what you need to be doing right now. Right now. You need to start this early. Why? The younger you are, the less it costs. But
don't put me in Cash App requests.
Yeah, I don't send me nothing. I don't want no chicken dinners or nothing. I don't need it. But it's the truth. I mean, and this is why I do this twice a week. I want the truth. I want to give you the truth that no one else is going to give you. I know the truth hurts sometimes, but you might as well go and face it. run on by one of your favorite local funeral homes and take care of your business. It's just like car insurance. Gap.
Yeah.
You got to have it. You've got to have it. So again, don't send me no requests.
But
Yeah.
Mr. Renfro, one thing about that car insurance, you may not use it.
That's right. But you got to use this one.
Yes, sir.
You got to use this one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, and it don't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But we need some.
And you know what I say about that though too. And this is the thing when we start looking at insurance, and all fun and aside, but in car insurance, house insurance, all of those things, whether you use it or not, you're gonna renew it every 6 months or a year.
Uh-huh.
And you're not gonna get any money back.
No,
you're not gonna get any return if you don't use it. They're not gonna get anything. Your premiums may go up, but you're not gonna get any return on it. But life insurance, at some point, you are going to get some return on it.
Valid point.
And that's the difference. But I think that we will look at car insurance, whether it's liability that the state says you have to have in order to drive on the streets, you're going to get that. And every 6 months, you're going to renew it. And you may not have an accident, you may not get a ticket, you may not do anything, but every 6 months you have to renew that insurance. And nowadays, you know, they say they're going to give you a good driver's discount or this kind of discount. But I mean, if you don't, nobody complains about paying that insurance every 6 months or a year. They pay it because they know they got to have it, you know, and your mortgage company on your house is going to make sure you have it. They're going to put force place insurance on you, you know, make sure that they protect their investment. Why not protect our investment, which is our lives, which is our family, which is our family's life? Because sometimes people end up losing everything because someone is not insured.
And Mr. Renfro, you mentioned GoFundMe's. My experience with the GoFundMe page is that unless death was tragic, okay,
right,
unless someone burned in a house fire, a kid lost a mother, or there was an unexpected death out here on the freeway, people don't really respond well to GoFundMe page. And I think the reason a lot of people don't respond to GoFundMe pages, most people see lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on their part.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Very true. Very true.
And
tragic. Somebody died tragically. They allowed to get about $30,000-$40,000.
You know, you get famous people sometimes call up and pay for funerals. You know, athletes, stars, and all. You know, when something makes the news, but just because mom died in a nursing home or dad died, and you know, you're not going to get the type of response that most people feel as though the family should have made preparations for it.
So what we're telling you now, people, and those who are watching it now, and so those who are going to be watching it later, get prepared. Prepare yourself for that very day, because that day is coming. I promise you, it's coming, and you want to be prepared. You don't want to Lord, don't get me. I don't want to get started with that. But anyway, I am so glad to have you guys on. I missed my two other funeral home directors and owners. Freddie Broussard, he just had pickup for one today, this evening, couldn't be on. And Mr. Cantue had a little technical problems. He couldn't come on, but I am so glad to have you all here, and I'll bring them back on again. But this has been a great discussion, and you passed on and shared some great information. And I appreciate you guys. You're professional. What you do, you're good. Your business is good, and I respect you guys, because you know that's I was telling you before we started the show. I said, you know, since this coronavirus been around, my business has slowed down a little bit. It's kind of dead, but I know you know your business is really dead. But so I want you guys to understand that you are appreciated, and we love you, and we thank you so much. So I'm going to see if I've got another. We've got about 6 minutes left, and I just want to see if we've got any more questions with the audience. And I see that we do. I want to ask one more question, and I think we're going to say goodbye. But you guys been very have shared a lot of education tonight with our audience and on this podcast, man. You make me famous. You make me famous. So here's our last question for tonight, and it is, where did it go? Where did it go? I saw it here and it disappeared. Oh, someone's talking about the cost of here she is again. Golly. Girl, we're gonna send you to the funeral. We're gonna send you a personal attorney, to make sure you guys get your questions answered correctly.
Well, I don't know of a cemetery that charges $3,200 for opening and closing. Most of the opening and closings are between $1,000 and $1,900. There are two parts to cemetery, two primary parts to cemetery. You have the grave space, which is where you acquire the land, and all of the cemeteries will allow you to pre-need the grave space. And then you have the opening and closing, which is what the cemetery charged at the time of service for digging the grave, setting up the tent, and closing the grave or covering the grave back up. And like I say, most of the cemeteries, the opening and closing charges between $1,000 and $2,000. Average cost of a cemetery now, and I'm saying average, of course, there are more or less, it's probably about $2,700.
Woo! I was blindsided. You know, I got blindsided behind the opening and closing. I didn't know anything about the opening and closing. I thought it was going to be a concert. I didn't know who was going to close the show or what. I didn't have a clue. You know, I didn't have a clue. I thought the Commodores was coming. I didn't know when they said, "Well, you're going to pay for the opening and the closing." I said, "What are you talking about?"
And I think one thing that a lot of people, like Andre was saying, a lot of it is every cemetery charge is different. You know, I mean, every cemetery is different. You know, so different cemeteries. There are some cemeteries when she used a $3,200 price, that the opening and closing and the grave plot, when you total it together, is going to be in that range. Some are more. You know what I'm saying? Some are less, but that's going to be when you total it all together when you're going to get that space at that at need time. And you're going to get the opening and closing at that at need time. Then you're going to end up paying sometimes north of $3,000 and sometimes a little bit south of $3,000. Just depends on what cemetery that you're burying your loved one in. And the range of the cemeteries will go from about $1,400-$1,500 all the way up to $6,000 or $7,000, just depending on what kind of space you. Some more, you know. Just depending on what kind of.
And Lashone, they need to know the difference in cemeteries, because you have perpetual care and non-perpetual care cemeteries. Correct. You know, the perpetual care cemeteries, you're going to pay quite a bit more for it. But the state guarantees the long-term upkeep of the cemetery. You have non-perpetual care cemeteries that they're just governed locally by the local city ordinance as to how they keep their cemeteries up. And along that note,
you might be cut the grass before your funeral.
Yeah. Another note, and I think me and Mr. Proctor both share the benefit of this, is being able to go to the VA cemetery. The VA cemetery is absolutely gorgeous, well kept, well manicured, and not only can you go to the VA cemetery, your spouse can go to the VA cemetery.
Yeah, and dependent children, if your child is dependent, you know.
Now you talk about only veterans, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. The closest thing
that's the benefit for serving our family. I mean, our country.
Okay, that's because the closest army I came to was at the Salvation Army. I thought maybe I was going to be able to get laid right down over there at the VA cemetery. And
no. And people need to know, a lot of people, I'm not going to say they lax the rules, but they've made it a lot easier now when we're burying their spouses in the cemetery. You know, if even if your spouse passed prior to you passing, we could take her there, and then take you at a later date, and they do a double interment. You're buried in the same grave, so that both individuals could be there.
Man, that's some awesome information, man, that you guys have shared today. You two guys, you three, all guys. The two, Cantue and Bruce is not here, but you guys are the pillar of this community, and I really appreciate you guys. You guys, hey, you do a well done job, and we appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you coming on to Power Knowledge is Power podcast. And I would like you to come back again and join me and let's share some more of this information for these people. And I want everyone out there to share this video, share this podcast with everyone out there, because knowledge is power, people. Knowledge is power. And if you don't have knowledge, you won't have power. So knowledge is power, and power is knowledge. You got to have that knowledge to have power. So every Sunday and Tuesday, I want to share with you knowledge, education, financial, health, money management, in general, life, period. And we've had two of the best in town, Andre Como and Lashone Proctor from Proctor, Montuary and Community Funeral Home, respectively. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we got
appreciate that.
We got to do this. Let me let the audience know who's going to be joining us Sunday on the podcast at 8 o'clock, 7:30 on Sunday. We're going to have the Port Arthur Mayor, Thurman Bill Barty, along with Beaumont City Councilwoman Robin Lynn Mouton and Alwyn Samuel going to join us on.
Now, Mr. Barty is a licensed film director in Beaumont also, right?
Been one for a long time.
Long time.
We used to play dominoes back in his. But anyway, yes, he is. He is one too. He's jack of all trades. He wears 4 or 5 different hats over there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But anyway, we like to have. They're gonna be joining me Sunday and next week on Tuesday. I hope to have, and I'm working on that, having young Black entrepreneur owners. We want to make sure that we do business with our people. And don't forget, folks, the blackout day, that's going to be July 7th. And that's going to come with you. I might have that guest here as well, so we can share the news on how we're going to do a blackout. We're gonna show that we've got power. So again, folks, thank you again. Thank you for joining me. Share this video, like it on Facebook, and also join my new page, my new Knowledge is Power Facebook page, and get some important news that I share news during the day, during the week that you can, and I post up news that you can get some important present information. So again, good night, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Thank y'all. Take care. Thank you.
All right. Now